The old house had seen better days. Its bones were creaking, its roof sagged in several places, and its paint was peeling off in large chunks. But it was home, and most importantly, it was warm. For 14-year-old Billie Eilish, her family's home was the only place she knew. So when her parents decided to sell their 5-bedroom house in the suburbs and move to a cheaper property, she wasn't thrilled. But there was nothing she could do about it. So she followed them to their new home with her older brother and little sister in tow. It was quite different from their previous residence. It looked like an abandoned shack compared to their sprawling, luxurious home. But it had some cool things about it too, like the fact that no one lived next door or across the street. They were completely alone. There was also the creepy basement with its uneven, dusty stairs that led down into total darkness. She couldn't see the bottom of the stairs from the top, nor could she see the top from the bottom. It just went down, seemingly forever, and at night they made a horrible noise. That first night in the house, she was lying in bed listening to the rain when she heard it. She sat up and listened intently. Then she heard it again. Someone or something was coming down the stairs. Slowly but surely, heavy footsteps echoed through the basement, each step getting louder until it reached the bottom. And then silence. She told her parents about it, but they just laughed and went back to watching TV. "What are you talking about?" "There's no one down there," her dad said dismissively. But she knew what she'd heard. She didn't want to go down those stairs and find out for herself. So she stayed in bed until morning, when she heard birds chirping and the rain had stopped. She got up and went to the basement door. The steps seemed less scary in the light of day. Maybe it was just mice, she thought, or maybe her imagination was getting the best of her. She didn't want to think about it too much. So she shrugged off her fears and went about her day. But that night, when she was home alone watching TV, she heard it again. Heavy footsteps coming down the stairs. She ran to the window and saw a shadow fall across the lawn. Something big was standing outside. Then she heard a knock at the door. She froze. Was it the thing outside? Her heart pounded in her chest as she crept closer to the door. She could hear the thing pacing back and forth outside. It knocked again, this time louder. Her dad must be home, she thought. But when she opened the door, she saw only darkness. No one was there, and the front yard was empty. Had she imagined it? She couldn't tell. And as the days passed, the footsteps grew louder and more frequent. Sometimes they would shake the entire house, making her jump out of her skin. Other times they would stop halfway down the stairs, as if whoever was making them was just standing there looking around. She tried to ignore it, really she did. But one night she couldn't take it anymore. She was lying in bed trying to sleep when the footsteps started. She threw the covers off and went to the stairs. She had to know what was down there. She grabbed a flashlight and slowly walked down the stairs. Each step was louder than the last, and she could feel the vibrations in her bones. When she finally reached the bottom, she turned on the light and gasped. It was empty. There was nothing down there. She shone the light around, but all she saw were cobwebs and dust bunnies. Where was it coming from, she thought. Maybe it was coming from above. She turned around and started walking back up the stairs. She climbed. She noticed that each step was higher than the last. She furrowed her brows in confusion. What the hell? She continued climbing until she reached the top, then cautiously opened the door and stepped out. She was in her parents' room. She looked around in disbelief. How could this be? She remembered that every morning she would wake up before everyone else. So she knew that the footsteps weren't coming from upstairs. That meant they must be coming from somewhere inside the walls. She was about to go back down the stairs when she noticed something strange. One of the floorboards creaked whenever she walked on it. She stepped on it again, and the sound echoed through the room. She knelt down and pressed her ear against the floorboard. She could hear the sound coming from inside the wall. Oh. She got up and raced to the other side of the room, where she could see the wall. She put her ear against it and heard the footsteps again. She ran her hands over the wall and found a small hole where the dry wall had come loose. She stuck her finger through it and felt something hard. With her finger still inside the wall, she moved it around until she felt a seam. She pushed her finger through the hole and it came out covered in dirt. She took her finger out and smiled. Alice? She knew exactly what she had to do. She grabbed a hammer and started knocking on the wall. She made a small hole in the center of the floorboard. She reached in and pulled out a chunk of dry wall. She did the same thing on the other side of the wall, then pried the two pieces apart. She opened the hole wider and stepped through. On the other side, she found herself in a small, dark room. She turned on her flashlight and gasped. It was full of stairs. They were narrow and steep and seemed to go on forever. She could feel the vibrations from below and knew that the basement was underneath her. She took a deep breath and started walking down the stairs. As she descended, she realized that they were getting higher. She stopped on a step that was level with the floorboard she had broken through. She shone her light up and saw that there was a hatch in the ceiling. She took a few more steps down and saw another hatch.
Oh.
This one was open. Someone or something had come through recently. Curiosity got the better of her and she continued going down. Each step was like a trap waiting to snap shut on her, but she couldn't stop now. She had to know what was at the bottom. She finally reached the bottom of the stairs and walked through the open hatch. She found herself in a dark, dank basement. There was a single bare bulb hanging from the ceiling, and cobwebs hung in the corners. In the middle of the room was a large wooden chest. She walked over and knelt down beside it. She didn't know why she was doing this, but she felt compelled to open it. She ran her fingers over the lid and it suddenly flew up. She jumped back in surprise. Inside was a pile of old, yellowed papers. She reached in and pulled one out. It was a diary. She opened it and began reading. The entries told the story of a young woman who lived in the house many years ago. She wrote about how she felt trapped in the house with her abusive husband, and then one day she had had enough. She wrote that she was going to run away and never come back. The last entry was from the day she died. She had taken her own life. She read on, learning about the woman's tragic life. She wrote about how she was always cold, how the stairs would shake at night, and how she could feel the presence of something evil in the house. She finished the last entry and closed the book. That's when she heard a noise behind her. She whirled around and saw the stairs moving. She screamed and ran for the stairs. As she climbed, she could hear the footsteps pounding behind her. She reached the top and collapsed on the floor, catching her breath. But she knew that she wasn't safe yet. She had to get rid of the diary. She stood up and ran to her room. She threw the diary under her bed and hid there until morning. When she came out, she saw that the stairs had stopped moving. She went down to the basement and found that the chest was empty. The diary was gone. She never saw or heard the footsteps again, but she couldn't help but wonder what would have happened if she hadn't destroyed the diary.